New York Comic Con has a very special place in my heart.
Every year I look forward to Comic Con. The community is awesome. People are super friendly. It's like
you can just be yourself.
It's very exciting to see other people express something special. I mean, I feel like we kind of speak
It took a while before I realized that I wasn't alone in the world.
It's 100 worlds in one.
It's just home.
Can you say anything else?
Hey, a woman writing Wonder Woman. What a concept. How cool. What's it like to write for her?
Oh, I mean, it was amazing. I've loved Wonder Woman for years. I mean, I've got a Drew Johnson Wonder Woman sketch in my house, like framed. And a lot of this movie picks up from the Rucka Johnson run. So this was really my chance to like take, the Wonder Woman that I knew, like I came up with, and bring it to a wider audience, bring it to the silver screen, I guess.
Now, you've written comic books before.
Yeah.
And what was the difference in writing, for comics versus writing for a screenplay? Was it challenging to adapt to that process?
No, because I've been writing both for a while. I've been writing animated television as well.
Okay.
I like to think of comics as like sort of the haiku of animation. It's about learning to, in a smaller frame, give the impression of a larger idea. But there was definitely a hard thing because animation is all about movement. You want everyone to be moving all the time, and comics is about just those couple of still images that let the brain fill in the rest of the fight. So that is definitely the one nice thing though is like there was a couple of things I wanted to do in my Wonder Woman 75 short that I couldn't because it was a short, and so they were like, hey, you want to write the Wonder Woman movie? I was like, yeah. I was like, can I use Giganta? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, ooh, I got some ideas. I just pulled up my first draft and I was like, let's bring back some ideas.
That's awesome.
Wonder Woman seems to be going through a bit of a renaissance now, and I don't know if it's just because of the movie or whatever, but the character seems to be really enjoying this great wave. Why is that? Why do you think she's suddenly connected in such a big way?
I think because Wonder Woman embodies that. Wonder Woman is hopeful without being naive. She wants what's best for the world. She wants to do the right thing. She's willing to put her own self on the line to do that. And she's willing to admit that she doesn't always know what the right thing is. But it's also really nice because coming as an Amazon and a war culture, there really is that sense where if you tell Wonder Woman you want to duel to the death, and that's your choice, like, okay, we're gonna fight. And so that's what she's a hero that I feel like can really sort of take the gloves off when she needs to. But at the same time, that's never her first instinct, and that's not what she wants out of a situation. But she isn't willing to let a villain, essentially use her good nature to their own advantage. And so that's actually one of the things I really wanted to explore in this movie is I really wanted you to feel like Wonder Woman was a fighter. Like we put her through the ringer. I wanted you to feel like is she gonna get up? So that she felt strong. There's this weird thing where it's like, if you don't really hurt your heroes, they kind of don't feel like they're really worth hurting. And so I really wanted to feel like, no, Wonder Woman's a threat. You don't just hit Wonder Woman and then run away. Like you hit her until she doesn't get back up, because that's how dangerous she is.
Has there ever been conversations between you and Patty and your respective projects?
No, there hasn't. But I would really love that. That'd be great. I would totally hang out with Patty.
So whose voice do you hear when you're writing dialogue?
Wonder Woman's really interesting. Well, I knew that Rosario was going to voice Wonder Woman because we're in continuity with the other DC movies that she had done. So I had her voice pattern in my head, but I also did. Wonder Woman is one of those heroes that has a consistent manner of speech in most of her impressions. It's not quite as consistent as like Spider-Man, where it's like anyone could know what Spider-Man would say, but it's still pretty clear for me. Like that slightly more formal tone, but that sort of gentle nature. Like I really wanted to play up with like her unassuming nature, you know. So that's definitely where I wanted to live.
You're doing research into the characters. What do you pull from not only Wonder Woman stories, but from other stories outside of maybe Umbrella, or some kind of tales that you look into to bring the Wonder Woman, make it different and more of your things?
I think for Wonder Woman, for me it was about really thinking about her circumstance a lot. I'm always trying to consume information, you know? How do people act in war zones? How do people act in conflicts? What makes people psychologically want to save anyone else? And so that's always sort of like floating around in the background. But then what I try and do is whenever I get a character is trying to really drill down into what is this person's specific circumstance? Is there anything about that circumstance that I fear hasn't been talked about a lot? And I think one of the things I really wanted to explore that you see a little bit of in the live action movie is the fact that Wonder Woman on Paradise Island is the only child. So she's growing up on an island of moms. And what do you do when everyone you've ever known knew you when you were little and you weren't great at everything and like still sort of sees you as a kid? Like how do you prove yourself to an island full of, you know, your closest relatives? And so it's kind of like the ultimate coming of age, or like proving, you know, no, I'm a grown up now, I promise.
Cool. One more question.
Yeah, go ahead, jump.
Now, what is the dramatic thrust of this movie for you in terms of this character? What is her evolution? Do you feel this?
Yeah, well, the thrust of this movie is, you know, Wonder Woman's come to man's world, and she ends up meeting the Kapatelis family, Julia and Vanessa, and the idea is that her daughter ends up falling kind of in with a bad crowd. So the main dramatic question is, can Wonder Woman save Silver Swan from herself? You know, and so that's kind of the goal, is can people be redeemed when they've gone too far? Can people come back? And sort of what is the shadow side of the love that our parents give us?
But what is the illumination for Wonder Woman from it?
Well, for Wonder Woman, it really becomes a question of, like, Vanessa and her mother becomes a mirror of Wonder Woman and Hippolyta's relationship, and this idea of, you know, trying to sympathize with someone who's in a similar situation with you, whereas also being kind of that more grown-up person yourself. So, kind of by being the older, wiser, more experienced version to Vanessa, she sees a little bit more of where her mom's coming from.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think you get the taps.
Yes, I did.
Thank you,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.